Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Me on Your Screens. Today is a kind of a special one because it's a year to the day since I bought my Pentax 6.7, and I think it's about time I delve into my thoughts and feelings from owning this camera for one whole year. And when it comes to a camera like this, I think the first question to ask is why? Why did I go down the path of the Pentax? Well, up until sort of 18 months ago, I'd never even heard of a Pentax 6.7, which for people in the film community that might seem kind of crazy. But my go-to medium format camera was this, which is my Mamiya 645 Super, and it treated me really well since getting into medium format photography, and it treated me really well in the trips I took with it to the Dolomites and Madeira. And it was on these two trips to the Dolomites and Madeira that really sort of cemented my love for 120 film. But admittedly, I wanted more. I wanted bigger, and one fateful day of scrolling down social media, I saw a video like this. And I hate to say it, but yeah, I fell for the hype. And maybe 2 or 3 days later, I scrolling on eBay, obviously searching for one, found one in beautiful condition, bought it, and I honestly haven't looked back. So I'm going to start this review on some of the things I don't like too much about this camera, so I can end the review on the things that I love. Essentially just so I can see the video out with me gushing over what might be my favourite camera of all time. When I'm talking to people about the Pentax, the first thing that people always mention is the weight. And not just the weight of the body, but the weight of the lenses as well. And admittedly, this is a chunky boy, but it does make you sort of think, is it worth it? Is it worth packing this in your bag and taking it hiking and taking it traveling? Because it is a big payload to carry around with you. But yes, of course it is. Of course it's worth it. I've currently got 2 lenses for the Pentax 6.7. One of them is the 105 f2.4, and the other one, which is on right now, is the 55 f3.5. More on these a little bit later, but they're both great. And in comparison to modern day lenses, they are both really, really hefty. There isn't a single part of this camera that won't leave you with back pain and wrist pain after carrying it around all day with you. But there also isn't a single part of this camera that will leave you disappointed and wanting more. So if I was being really nitpicky, the only thing that I would say I'd like is for the waist level viewfinder to be brighter, because the brightness of the waist level viewfinder on my 645 is really quite impressive, but when you're looking down your waist level viewfinder like this, it's quite dark, it's quite hard to see, and even with the addition of, hold on a sec, even with the addition of this, which acts as like a true waist level viewfinder, which you look down like this, it's still quite dark, and it is still quite hard to make out what you're shooting sometimes, especially in bright sun. But I do tend to shoot this camera like this, using the metered prism inside. So I'd say having a waist level viewfinder being a little bit brighter, it's not the biggest complaint in the world, really. One thing to note about the metered prisms though is on it they have like a little on-off switch, and like I found out pretty early on into owning this, if you don't turn the metered prism off when you're not using it, it will just break inexplicably. I don't really know why, I don't know the science behind it, but it will just break, and kind of can't be repaired. So yeah, when you're not using the meter in, just turn it off. I forgot, mine broke, and I can't fix it because one, I don't have the money, and two, I don't know how. Okay, so now on to the things that I love about this camera, and I'm going to try and keep it to 4 different things so this video doesn't last forever. And they are the image quality, the glass, the user experience, and last of all, the community. And when I tell you, I haven't experienced image quality like this since shooting film, I really, really mean it. And it all comes down to the negative size. So the negative size in my Pentax 6.7 is, as a clue in the name, it's 6 by 7 centimeters, although on the Pentax it's more closer to like 5.5 centimeters by 7. And then on my 645, again, it's kind of implied, it's 6 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters. So the negatives are a little bit smaller in the Mamiya, and they are absolutely huge in the Pentax. Just for perspective, the 6 by 7 you get out of the Pentax is like 4.3 times bigger than what you get out of a normal 35mm camera. So they are real big negatives, and it means that when you use a roll of 120 in this, you only get 10 shots per roll. It does make it quite an expensive camera to shoot as well. Whereas in the 645, you get 16 shots per roll. So it's a bit more, it's a bit cheaper to shoot. But yeah, 10 shots in this, massive negatives, unrivaled image quality. Since owning the Pentax, I've taken it to Scotland, I've taken it to New York and the Dolomites, along with like numerous weddings that I've been shooting throughout the year. And every single time, the images that I get back have just blown me away. Another thing that leads to great image quality with the Pentax is the glass. And although it's heavy, although it's hefty and it's big and it's slow to shoot, there's reasons why some of these lenses are revered as all-timers in the film community. This right here, this one, is the 105 f2.4, which I mentioned earlier. And it is probably one of the best lenses that I have ever used across all formats, across all mediums. It is astoundingly good. It's equivalent of a 52.5mm. It's like equivalent of like a 50mm 1.2 lens if you're shooting on a regular 35. The way that this lens renders colours and creates the dreamiest bokeh is something to behold. And I think that this lens is the reason that Pentax 6.7s are so sought after in the film community, because if I could adapt this lens and use it across all of my film cameras, all of my digital cameras, for every bit of work I ever do, and I could never change lenses, this is the one I would choose. Honestly, it's because it doesn't look like much. It's quite small. It's heavy, but it's quite small. And I'd heard rumours of how good it was, and I wasn't really too sure. Then when I got shooting it, and the images I get back from this little lens are just incredible. I also use what I would call one of the most underrated lenses that I have ever used, and that is this lens that's currently on my Pentax at the moment, which is the 55mm f3.5. And the reason I think it's so underrated is because I didn't know anything about this. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is. So I bought this lens kind of on a whim before we went to New York, because I wanted something wider, and the 55mm 3.5 is the equivalent of like a 28 1.7. So I knew it could shoot super wide, and obviously wanted that for like the scale and the buildings and things like that. And it cost me, I think, £295, because it was the only other Pentax lens that my local store had in at the time. yeah, didn't really expect much from it. But this lens creates the most beautiful lens flares imaginable, and every single photo I've taken is so sharp, so beautifully rendered once again, and it never gets spoken about because this lens is so good that this lens kind of takes a back seat. And yeah, this is the lens that lives predominantly on my camera, which when I bought this, if I'd have said that, there's no way I would have believed myself. But yeah, the 55mm f3.5 has helped me create two of my all-time favourite images, and that's just in the last 3 months of owning this camera. My user experience since owning the Pentax has been overwhelmingly positive. And I know a lot of people say, but it's such a slow camera to use, and it is, especially when you've got a broken light meter. But I think that just kind of adds to the charm of it. It feels incredibly ergonomic, especially when you've got this wooden handle on the side to keep a hold of it, because it is heavy and you do need that extra bit of like support. And I think the last thing that I want to talk about is the noise of this shutter, because it is crazy. So nice. I'm going to finish this video by just talking a little bit about the community, because since owning this Pentax 6.7, I've been stopped by people the world over who just want to talk to me about either the camera or film in general. And I'm pretty sure if I hadn't have been shooting on this, that those conversations would have never happened. And there's some of my fondest memories of traveling is just shooting a car in New York and having this guy just like come up to me with his daughter and just start talking to me and reminiscing about when he used to own one and used to go out shooting and all that kind of stuff. It's just all part of it, and all part of using cameras like this to create your art, I guess. And yeah, it's something that I've personally really enjoyed happened to me whilst shooting this camera. So if you're looking at buying a Pentax 6.7, I can in good conscience say believe the hype and just go for it, because I've been shooting on this camera for over a year now, and I haven't regretted buying it, I haven't regretted shooting it, I haven't regretted taking it anywhere with me, and I'm pretty sure that that will be the case for years to come. I've had an amazing first year with it, and like I said, many more to come. But if you are wanting to get one of these, just do it. I think that's all I've got to talk about with the Pentax 6.7. So yeah, still don't really know how to end these, so I guess I'll just see you later.